Hello everybody, this is who you know as Copter Dude, but my name is Mike, and I didn't mean to try to be so obscure. I wasn't trying to hide from anybody. It's just that that's generally the way. It was about the track, it wasn't about me, and I'll probably continue that too. But people have been asking about me, and you can see me now, not that that's important. Well, for those of you that's been watching my channel over the past 3 years or so, you know I've went from this with my grandson, promising in him to make him a track, to this, all the way to this in the last couple of weeks. It's become full circle. I was a newbie when I started this. I knew absolutely nothing. If you take a look at this picture over here where my grandson is playing with the track, that's all I had. I had that little red engine, and I had a DC little knob that you turned on and off, and I had a few cars. That's all I had. That and a dream to make my grandson happy. So what I elected to do was I tried to find a track that was simple, that I didn't have to put much thought into it, and somebody else has picked all my stuff, and all I gotta do is get this box and I gotta put this thing together. I wanted as least amount of work into it as possible. And so I just grabbed the bull by the horns and started building this thing. Well, I did it first, and I videoed it, and then I posted it. Well, I didn't have any advice or somebody telling me what to do or whatever. That was a big mistake. But in my comments, I did get a lot of comments from people that were experienced in building these things of what not to do, what to do, but it was kind of late. I was already done. In some cases, I may have been 2 or 3 weeks behind in the video. So that was a big mistake. When I first started this track, the Grand Valley kit wasn't a big hit thing on YouTube, and there was a few people out there. I think I ran into Dan's Grand Valley. I'll put his thing over here, and but for the most part, I used this guy, Father and Son Train Room. These guys was out there, and this guy helped me through. Although I outran his videos, and I outran them pretty quick, but at least it showed me on some of the vague stuff in the directions of, you know, the tunneling and how this guy did this and how did he figure out these little areas. And then he kind of stopped, so kind of left a big void, and I was walking around in the dark again. So what my videos was out there to do was to fill this void, so the next old man retired grandpa out there that wanted to do something good for his grandson wouldn't be dissuaded by doing it because it would just look like it was just too intense. Well, that wasn't the case. You could do it. If I could do it, about anybody could do it. But when I was doing this thing, make no mistake, I made mistakes. I made, some were minor mistakes. Some, like using real dirt and putting the grout in it and whatever, and mixing mud mixtures up. You know what? That was too far. That was too far. Made a mess. And I wouldn't do that again. And also, when you buy this set, they give you all this stuff. Somebody else has figured this out for you. And it ain't always the best stuff. And, you know, like, thing in particular was I made a mistake on the ballast for the track. They gave me brown ballast. You know what? I walked some railroad tracks one day, and I looked down and I go, that ballast ain't brown. It's not brown, it's gray. Why did they give me brown ballast and my track has that on there? So those are aesthetics, and they're minor mistakes. Those are irrelevant. And in my other videos, you'll see a slew of those. Can't redo that once you glue all that stuff down. But some of the other things that were made mistake were fatal for my track. And that's why I'm here today. Now that I've completed this set and went full circle, I do have a little bit of experience with it now, and I can have an opinion on a few things. Let's see. In the opinion of most people that I've come in contact with about the Grand Valley, they have some major flaws that they would fix the next time they do it. Some people, usually the experienced ones, will kind of fix those things up front. But those of us that don't have that experience, we just fall into the trap and keep going. Dan's Grand Valley layout, this guy, and some other experienced Grand Valley operators like TV Toms and Mark Swyatley, Dave FR, these guys have all made comments of some type that, yeah, there are problems with the track. And when it comes to Mark and Dave, they actually corrected some of those mistakes. And Mark and Dave, they actually did what's called the Grand Valley Plus. They're the pioneers, as far as I could tell, of making this plus track. And what they did was they made the addition of a larger oval track, and I think it was 22 inch radius as opposed to 18, which kind of corrected the 18-inch tight turns, all turns that some trains didn't like. Some did. You could put bigger trains and you can run around the outside. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is a correction for that. Now you need to add some track. It's no longer a 4x8, but we'll get into that later. And all these guys, TV Toms, Mark, Dave, all of these guys, and Dan, they all went in and put a yard of some type in front. Again, this makes the set bigger. It's a yard in front, and it just makes it more interesting and makes it so that you can put your rolling stock up front. You can look at it, and you could do a little yard work and pull trains in and out. You can run through with your oval track on a track. So it just makes it more interesting, adds a little bit to it, but I think it's well worth it, and you don't have that limitation of one track coming down the front straightaway and stopping at your station and stopping all your operations. It kind of gives you just a little more room. All those guys have made that correction, but most of these guys have left some of the other basic flaws intact, you know, like most of them, including myself until recently, I just learned to live with it. You know, I knew it was a limitation with the track, and I just learned to live with it. Some trains work good. Some trains don't work good. Some trains can't run in one direction, and you can run in the other direction, but you can't run it more than this speed and less than this speed. And some trains you can't run across areas of the track unless you have capacitors or the Go gizmo put inside of it. It just has limitations, and you learn to live within their limitations, and you go on. One of the funny things is trying to make, if you could see behind the scenes of trying to make a cab ride. I did one last year, and I had to work and try to figure out which train was going to work. This one kept derailing. Take this one off. Don't use this one car. You can't put this car behind this car. What an ordeal. And then I had to run in this direction. And then after I did all that, and I crossed my fingers, and I made all these changes, and I'd videotape from different angles, and I'd be putting this thing together. In the background, I'm hoping that this thing don't derail. I'm hoping that this thing don't cut off. Well, in the last video, and I'll put it right there.
Our lungs are full of fire, breathing burning coal, raging locomotion, like thunder when it rolls, singing for the mire.
It was the cab ride I did, and you notice that somewhere in there, that steam engine, I wanted my steam engine in there, and it went across, and when it was going across the crossing, right in the middle of the video, it does a stutter, and shuts off, and it comes back on and keeps running. Well, I elected to just leave that in there, because all the other troubles that was trying to get, just to get this piece of footage to let you see how well this track runs, you didn't get to see how well it didn't run and what it took to actually make that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some of the Grand Valley operators that have no issues with their track. But I think I've seen a common thread between those operators that have no problems. They have experience. They are not newbies, and they knew what to look for when they were putting their track together, and they used different types of track, and they knew to use sandpaper, and they knew to use this other type of foam putty. They knew these things up front. I didn't get that in my kit. It wasn't in my instructions, and thus I got what I got. One particular operator that I've been talking to was TV Tom's, right here. TV Tom's, his track runs flawlessly. And the reason why it runs flawlessly is because he knew, and he takes care of the track, and he meticulously leveled the track, and he knew what he was looking for the whole time he was going through. And on top of that, he wasn't in a hurry. Some reason I got in a hurry, and I had to have ballast, and I had to have dirt, and I had to have mud. You know what? Tom has been, I think, upwards of a year, and he doesn't have his scenery done, but his track runs flawlessly. And that's the mindset that I'm going to have to get into on this next go around. Thanks, Tom, for that. Well, the most asked question that I get is, what would I do different? Well, it's time to set the record straight. I was going to pull all my videos off from YouTube because I had a fear that there's some poor guy out there somewhere, and he's looking at my videos, and he's taking this as the gospel, and he's doing it this way. And if he doesn't see the outcome or where you can end up, well, he's going to make some of the same mistakes. And I didn't want that to happen. That wasn't the intent of making these videos. It was to keep people out of trouble, not to get them into trouble. Well, I'm not going to pull the other series because I think probably if you watch it from one end to the other and you see the mistakes and you see where you could be, maybe that has a value in itself. So I'm going to make a corrected series. This is going to be from where I'm at right now and moving through, and I'm probably going to do it in two stages. One is going to be only up to getting the risers done and the track running perfectly in a new thing with the corrections made in the larger style, because that's really all that matters. Beyond that, it's just plaster and paper wads. You know, you can do anything you want with this thing. Don't let people tell you that you need to do it like the box. Okay, everybody I see does it like the box. I mean, it's almost identical to the box. The world is bigger than that box top. Over the next few months, I'm going to be doing my version of the improved Grand Valley Plus. And the plus portion of it is basically going to be taken from Mark and Dave. They've done an awesome job, and I think just having that extra track around there is good. It's great, actually. But the improvements are going to be those other improvements that are deep-seated, rooted into the track that I'm going to get rid of. And that's my opinion. The other thing it does is let you see how highly versatile this track is, where you can go in and destroy stuff and cut things out and make it back. It's nothing but paper mache and some paper wads, a little bit of paint, throw some grass on it. I hope I got some people that will stick with me, and my next video, I'm just going to take it in nice, easy steps like I did the last time, and go from there. Get on board. It's time to go for another train ride. See you guys soon.